I'm amazed that there's still people that don't know what's going on with this. Not that New York has to be the center of everybody's attention, but it transcends New York. It's the entire northeast part of the country and the Midwest of the country, all getting smoked out from, I think the count I saw was like 238 wildfires happening in Canada.
Yeah, something crazy.
And they show the whole map, and there's like a whole bunch over on the what is the province over there? Is that British Columbia that's over there at the far end in the Pacific?
Yeah, I think
British Columbia,
like
the United
Vancouver
States and Alaska, like that.
Yeah,
I know Alaska's in the United States, but you know what I'm talking about. That far side of Canada, and then there's this other part in Ontario, which is the Toronto region, that is just smoking like crazy. And this big orange wave came and took over the north and the Midwest part of the United States, and it was an ordeal. It was like, I was saying, it was like The Mist when it first started happening. Then it turned into Dune. People were saying it was that new Blade Runner 2049. There's scenes of there.
It looked like the Mars from Total Recall. It was just orange.
My favorite bit is when people were saying it looks like everyone's filming everything in New York to look like a cartel movie from like the south of the border. And I'm just like, yeah. It's got that weird.
It had the Mexico filter. The Mexico filter. Everything's sepia.
Gabby's just like, please, you guys are wimps.
Yeah, well, you too, because you said, "Oh, this happens out in Arizona all the time, and out in the deserts, it just turns orange."
Well, what I was telling Giddles is that it doesn't get as crazy as it has when you guys keep sending me these pictures of the way it looks over there. Like we get our wildfires. I mean, we have fire season. It's literally fire season now through, I think, August. So there's going to be wildfires up north. But for some reason, it doesn't travel to us the way stuff that's happened in Canada has traveled to you guys. Like that is a whole new level of crazy.
It was just like crazy too. So, like I get it. Like people, people say like, hey, in California, we get wildfires all the time and shit like that. Right. And like, yeah, you do. We don't. So like, we're not used to this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? So like when the air quality meter says it's 480 in my neighborhood and China is like 420, like it's really bad. You know what I mean? Like right. I went outside. My eyes were just burning. I had to put on glasses because it hurt to like just be outside. Like it was not
people were pleasant. Wearing the masks and not complaining that it was political or there was an agenda
all of a sudden
behind it. People were like, yeah, it's like, all right, this is where we need the masks. This is what is, I think it's kind of meant for, well, it's not meant for that, but this is going to help during this situation.
It definitely helps.
But like even with the mask, like you could smell it through it. Like it was pretty bad out there. So I had some like breathing issues like last night and today, but it is what it is. You want the orange sky back?
Yeah, you're right, Uncle Phil. California wants its orange sky back. Yeah, remember when it was just that we would hear about there's forest fires again in that range between the west and the mountains there, and then California was just burning to death, and then there was mudslides, and then there was floods, and then this past year they had flooding and they had like blizzards.
Mm-hmm.
And the blizzards caused more flooding and more mudslides, and then was flooding Los Angeles. Our pal Rob, who lives out there, that one night I went on they have earth cams out there in LA, and then some other places have cams where you can log in and see the street views and stuff. And I'm watching restaurants fill up and their tables and their chairs, and people are getting off the sidewalk going into the restaurant thinking that, oh, if I'm in the restaurant, which is just 4 inches above the street level, will be okay. And then it's flooding even more, and then they don't know what to do while they're standing in the restaurants. It was just becoming a 24-hour 365 cycle for California. It's like California is just the place that is going to have all these disasters happening all the time. So when you get the West Coast saying, oh, we've dealt with this is nothing, we've had this for a while, or when we had that we had an earthquake not too long ago, a few weeks back. I was up in the, it was like
in like Westchester.
In the morning.
It was like a really like light one.
But I felt it was very slight, but I felt it, and I'm in the flight path to like 2 major airports. So you just think, when there's a low flying plane, it rumbles a little bit. That's what it feels like. So it wasn't that big a deal. And then everyone's like, oh my God, did you feel the earthquake? And then people on the West Coast were like, oh, we're used to that. Look, we're not, Giddles is right. We're not used to that. We're not used to these things. Florida laughs at us when we get a hurricane because we're not prone to that. I mean, we're open to it, but we're not prone to getting it that often as the South is.
But to be fair, we laugh at them when they get a quarter of an inch of snow and have a 4,000 car pileup. So it's like we get our revenge.
We laugh at that. We laugh, when their buildings are collapsing and planes are flying into them. We understand. Like that's the stuff we have to deal with.
Erik.
Yeah, we have to deal with that. Anyway, so where are we at? So Tuesday. This was all starting to happen here in the Northeast. So I'm walking out of the studios in New York, and I walk into this. So I'm like,
it looks like a storm. Like for an Arizona storm, when it rolls through, it looks like that.
This is kind of what it looks like right before it's about to snow. You know what I mean? It's like that weird, hazy.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. This does look like it's about to snow. It was starting to get dark. This was only like 5:30 or 5-6 o'clock, somewhere in there. For this,
that's what it looked like at 2 o'clock here yesterday.
Right. So we were jumping ahead, but yeah. So this is like normally what you would see with snow in the winter, because up here, it gets dark at 4:30 at night. It's pitch black. So walking through, this is the area going to like Penn Station, Madison Square Garden's there, Macy's is there, Herald Square, technically it's called. But looking down the side streets and stuff, again, it's kind of grayish brown, but it does look like it's a winter sky. And then as it kept increasing, I saw this in Penn Station. I didn't take a photo of it, but Giddles was in the subway and took a photo of this here. The subway track started to smoke.
This was at 9 o'clock at night. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, oh no.
Going down to the subways, down to the mass transit rails to get in and out of the city, it's smoky as being on street level. So this is a problem. Now we go into the next day. The next day they're like, oh, it's going to be worse here, but it's going to be in the afternoon. So in the morning, it's kind of gray like this. And then like, it's almost like the equivalent of Independence Day when all of a sudden people are just standing there and that shadow comes and the sun's gone because the ship is coming into the atmosphere. It came in that fast. And then it turned into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was Wednesday, right?
Everything in New York
yesterday was orange.
Yeah, it looked like they were photos from a turn of the century newspaper. Like this is like
you stole that from the New York Times in 1845.
Yeah, this was like finally the completion of the Brooklyn Bridge, and this is the final photo that they're putting out to the press.
Yeah, Erik took it out of it with his DeLorean and his gambling guide.
Yeah. What's those metallic birds in the sky?
Why is there a horizon in the west?
So I went around and I was fielding some photos here just to show you the brevity of all of this here. This is insane.
That's 2049.
Yeah, this is Dune. This is Dune right there. Now all of a sudden we have like 4 or 5 different suns. Spices are the currency. Sandworms, bad technology.
I did see someone post a video where they took this giant boombox with speakers out and were playing the Dune soundtrack. And I'm sitting there going, yeah, I could see it.
Yeah.
Like New York's crazy.
Well, I don't know what was worse. People throwing in the Dune stuff or everyone thinking that they were going, blame Canada, and then posting South Park.
That was literally the cover of the New York Post today.
I saw that today.
I saw that.
Yeah. So fucking dumb. This is Brooklyn side. This is the United Nations building right there.
Yeah, that's looking over from where I am.
Yeah, look.
That is so nuts.
Right?
I took a picture of the 70s.
Someone took
This is City Field where the Mets play.
So someone did a little infographic of like why certain baseball games were canceled this year or postponed, and like some of it was like weather related, some was this, and then 2 games for Canada. I'm like, oh, that sucks.
If you look at that, who is playing that game, it looks like that's the Toronto Blue Jays. So
Toronto with them.
So look, they're prepping the field. They're just running, videos and stuff to test everything, because all of a sudden they got like, this isn't gonna happen. They had everybody on standby in case this cleared that they were planning to play, even though the games were called. They still had the crews on standby in case that it started to clear up, that they could go back out there. If you're a player, right, and you're like, look, it's not like a rain delay. the fucking sky's on fire. I don't think I'm really
gonna hurt my
play
lungs
tonight.
long term.
Yeah. And the airport back here, which is LaGuardia, where you see all the flights coming to and from, they're grounded. So I can't even fly back to see my family. I am not playing a silly game on your field.
Yeah, I was because I could watch the flight paths from my apartment, and I got the alert on my phone that said all flights were grounded. And I looked out the window and I saw like one plane going in. I'm like, oh, that's the last one. Like it's going in right now. And you could just see it like cutting a trail through the smoke. It was crazy.
Yeah, this is from Yankee Stadium. And then people had, some of the people had drones out, all the news organizations, and what are they? They're like private photographers and stuff that like Getty and all the news sources buy their images and stuff off of them. They all had their drones out trying to get the photo. This was right near the studio too, right there with Macy's.
And the thing is, it was that color like all day. Like it didn't get brighter. It didn't get darker. It was just like that, just one tone, like Tatooine. It was just
it's
that
weird color. Because a lot of people were saying, well, that can't be right. That can't be real. Someone took like a color palette, like just a little block, and it showed all the different colors and went out walking. I'm like, he's like, no, we didn't. No one's changed their filters. No one's changed the white balance. No one's done anything. These are what colors are. This is the sky right now. And it's just, it's this orange haze. And
what's funny is I had my dad on a video chat and I was like showing him the area and he's like, oh, it doesn't look orange to me. What are you talking about? Like, that's my phone auto correcting the light. I'm like, watch this. And I turned the camera towards the sky and it turned that color. And he was like, oh shit. I was like, yeah, the phone is correcting for all of this orange. Right. As soon as I pointed at the sun or the sky though, it just immediately was obvious how orange it was.
Yeah. Right. This thing here, this looks like, those photos they take, I think it's from the San Jose side, where they show the Golden Gate Bridge covered in like gone in fog,
right? Because
of where it's located here. But is this the Verrazano?
No, that's the George Washington.
That's the George Washington one.
Yeah,
you're right. The square tops. You're right.
Square tops, and it's got the little sightseeing thing right there.
Yeah, here's some photos from Times Square.
That's 9 a.m.
It's like, look, we can't breathe. There's massive weather alerts.
Look at all these people out there.
They're telling you to stay inside because at this point, New York City was the most polluted place in the entire planet. It was, it was 2.5 times worse than Delhi in India, which is infamously known for being polluted. They said New York is worse. Do not go outside. Do not do any of this stuff. And look at everybody. They're like,
but like, don't you want like video on your cell phone saying I was there?
Right.
Fucking idiots. All these people are going to have like lung problems.
Oh yeah, dude. Like I said today, like I had like issues even when I was like walking around today. I was like wheezing like a bit that my eyes were burning. Yeah,
I didn't have the wheezing problem, but my eyes were burning, and I had a headache for the last.
Is that
2
same
days.
eye burn when you get when you're like you have a campfire going and the smoke's blowing in your direction, and it's just like, okay, this sucks. This hurts.
Yeah, that's because that's what it was. I mean, it smelled like a campfire. It was all that pine and shit, burning up in Canada, which is pretty funny because people like people like to smoke meat and stuff like that. Like this is why you don't cook with pine. Like it's terrible. It'll gas you out. It's horrible. Ugh.
Yeah. Well, that was a whole to do, and that was still going on today. It wasn't as orange. It was still very gray and gritty out. It had it didn't smell like a bonfire as much today, but being outside for a certain amount of time, you were starting to, the eyes were watering and the headache was coming back again. It's supposed to rain tomorrow, I think they said, and that'll be all clear. And they're showing the maps, and they go, look, this low pressure system is now moving this way. We're going to get rain, and it's going to help clear all this up. But it's just pushing it out into Pennsylvania and Ohio.
Screw you, Pennsylvania.
Yeah, the Dakotas and Kentucky, all that area. Like it's just swooping, and now it's swooping down. So now DC and Tennessee and Virginia is all going to get this shit here too. And they're like, and then it looks like it's going to be good for next week. Wait, the fires aren't out. The pattern is still going. How is this going to be good for next week? That pressure system moves away. All of a sudden, this comes back. This comes back maybe next week. We don't know, but
I mean, there's going to be some long-term effects for sure. Yeah,
people dying. They were showing some stuff on. What was I watching? Was it CBS? Something. They were showing that all these community gardens and people with plants and stuff like that. Their plants were dying or dead because of the smoke. Like it was that they were trying to water it, but you can't bring your gardens inside. So they were just, what can you do? There were people outside Febrezing their patio furniture. I was like, why don't you wait for this to be done before you're doing this? Why are you doing it now?
Like it's gonna be fine. It's a day. Like it's gonna be okay. Just don't be out breathing. Your plants are gonna be fine. Like, you know, the stray cats that I feed outside, they're fine. You know, like they survived the night. I gave them some cat food. Like it's, you know, you don't want to be out in that shit.
Gittles out there like, Febrezing the neighborhood cats.
I was Febrezing all the cats. Holding them up by the
my
scruff of their
tobacco
neck.
plants are okay though.
Yeah.
Well.
Yeah, I was gonna smoke a chicken. I just left it on my porch all night.
Just season it, let it sit there.
Do you buy into the footage that they've been showing of it's satellite footage showing that all the fires are starting at the same time?
I did see that footage. It was pretty interesting.
And it wasn't just like you saw it on Twitter and people were passing it around or whatever. Like all the major news organizations were showing it too. They were showing the satellite footage, but they were talking about the smoke trails, you know, showing where the smoke was heading. But they weren't talking about the fact as much as like all of a sudden you see the time lapse and then all these areas in Ontario, just all of a sudden the smoke just started at the same time.
Now, here's the thing. Do we know what caused it right away? Like, because I know like sometimes when you want to clear out stuff, you do controlled burns. So if it all started at the same time,
that's what I was thinking.
What they were doing. That could be it. And it got out of hand. But I don't know what the cause was.
But it was pretty spread out, like on the map. Like they weren't close to each other when they all started.
Yeah,
so I mean, it could have been a controlled burn or something like that. I mean, I really don't know. It's, you know, Canada is mostly woods. Like there's a lot of woods there. There's Bigfoot. Anything could happen.
Bigfoot.
I mean, the season finale of Yellow Jackets just happened. It could have been from that.